So we just had a little exercise where we try to guess if any of the Eagles' top 4 free agents will stay. You had as 0 for 4. I mean, you're really you're painting the picture of a bleak free agency.
I'm looking at it like this.
Like, trade AJ, trade Carter, all these guys out of here.
The headline here is Hugh Douglas guts the Eagles.
Gutting.
You asked me for my gut feeling.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I
gave
did.
it to you. And the reason why I did that is because of money. Now, Reed might want to come back, but it might be a situation where the Eagles might not have offered him anything. This is me workshopping this while I'm sitting here and recklessly speculating.
Both
of them at the same time.
Oh, it's a huge day.
And then when you talk about Jaelen Phillips looks like, he's been hurt a lot, probably wondering, how longevity in the NFL. Yeah. This is his first big bite at the apple. He wants to try to get all the bread, in my opinion, in my recklessly speculating opinion. So Eagles probably made him a good offer. He was like, nah, bruh, we're going to go out and see what we can get on the open market. And, it's probably going to be more. And then living in Miami, the taxes in Miami are different than in Philadelphia. So he's probably doing the whole tax thing and everything like that. So he's probably going to try to go somewhere where it's a little bit more tax friendly. Things of that nature. Who else we talking about? And I told you about, was it Dallas? Dallas won his money back. Dallas took a haircut last year.
He did.
So Dallas probably wants his money back.
And he's coming off 11 touchdowns. All right, do we have some news from our guy John Clark here reporting on the Eagles?
Yes. So, sorry. Snuck up on me a little bit. John Clark just tweeted, it's my understanding the Eagles are trying to get a deal done with Jaelan Phillips and a contract extension with Jalen Carter after locking up Jordan Davis.
All right, let's start with the Phillips thing. It feels like of all the free agents they have, Phillips is the only one we're getting news. Like, they're trying. They really want him. They really want him.
Yeah.
Haven't heard a word on Goddard. Not a word on Reed Blankenship. Every word on Nakobe Dean is he's not going to be here. Hugh, I do think they want Jaelan Phillips back. It feels like this is maybe a Fangio push thing. They traded for him.
Yeah.
The question on Jaelan Phillips to me just becomes how much? Because I like him, but I also don't want to go to a crazy level for a guy that's had a lot of injuries and really has not had that much production yet in his career.
And he wants to get crazy paid. That's the problem. And they probably were trying to talk to him before free agency started. He wants to try to test the waters. Can't blame me for that.
No.
Can't blame me for that. When you talk about the guaranteed money that they're throwing out there, and he's probably looking at the free agent tracker and seeing that he's probably the hottest pass rusher out there on the market. Try to maximize those dollars. No question about that.
All right, the other thing there from John Clark is the Eagles are attempting to sign Jalen Carter to an extension. Now, it flies in the face of the discussion of would they trade him, would you trade him, all that. But this kind of stuff I think happens maybe more than we think. You're almost doing two things at once as an executive, right? Like offering Jalen Carter an extension that would work for the Eagles side while also listening to offers. So if he says yes, all right, let's go. But if he says no, I also have X, Y, and Z team on my phone saying we would be interested in the player.
Yeah, they're trying to get stuff done, and this is the time of year where everything you have to listen to everything and take it with a grain of salt. That's why this morning when we were talking about it, I said that if they are entertaining this, it had to be more so about off-field things. And now it sounds like the Eagles about to set another precedent. They're about to pay both the D tackles if this story is true, that they're going to pay both of these guys.
Are they going to pay all three on the D-line?
That's what it sounds like.
That's insane.
Well, I mean, at some point, the money on that offense has to disappear. I mean, they're just going to have too much money on the defense to pay all these offensive guys.
But then I'm wondering if they're going to be able to afford Quinion and Cooper.
Well, that's a can you kick down the road a few months.
But you do need to think about it now.
No, you do. And I think that's why you're trying to sign these guys now, because even though Jaelan is eligible, if he kicked it down a couple years from now, well, say next year, probably worth even more money. So you're probably trying to give him a pretty fair contract right now for where he is in his career and not have to pay him. I would probably think he's going to be somewhere, if not at $100 million, he's going to be bumping up right against it.
Carter?
Yes. He's going to probably be bumping up right against it.
Wouldn't you think he has to get more per year than Davis?
Yeah.
Okay.
So Davis getting like what, $78 million total, right?
Total, 65 guaranteed. I think it was 26 on the extension per year.
So he'll probably be somewhere what?
30?
30? Yeah. That should sound about right.
That's a big number. I mean, I think Chris Jones at 31 is the highest paid defensive tackle.
He'll probably be somewhere in that cul-de-sac.
It's a lot.
It's still, but the way Howie would do that you could kick it down or just more like an extension maybe.
Yeah, right.
I'm not a capologist, but it sounds like, if you extend it out a little bit, it'll help with the money, the cap hit or whatever.
Here's what's pretty obvious to me that as we look ahead with the Eagles next year, 2, 3. If they re-sign Jaelan Phillips, and the reports are they're trying to right now, if they do give Jalen Carter an extension, don't trade him, extend him. We know they already extended Jordan Davis. Quignon's coming down the line, Cooper's coming down the line, and they already have Bond under a deal, right? A long-term deal.
Mm-hmm.
I just keep looking at it like this. Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown, Saquon Barkley. There's no way all three of them are here very long if we're paying all that money on the defensive side. Someone on offense that gets paid a lot of money has to disappear from the books.
And then just think, we've been recklessly speculating about Jalen asked for some more money. Boy, if Jalen asked for some more money,
how about this? If they
a lot of paid individuals.
If they do recommit to Jalen Hurts, which they certainly could, then it just makes me even more. It just furthers the idea that some of the other offensive guys that are around him cannot be here long term. We've reached that point here, especially if they do pay Jalen Carter.
94 WIP breaking news.
All right, what do we got?
Adam Schefter, Jaelan Phillips has agreed to a 4-year, $120 million deal with the Carolina Panthers.
Wow.
I told you, he was trying to get paid, man.
Wow.
That's why he...
Hold on. 120? 30 a year?
Ain't nobody coming back. Everybody trying to get that break.
People are hurting out there, Hugh. You're laughing. All right, my first reaction...
I'm just saying. I mean, it is what it is.
My first reaction is, I'm glad Howie walked away from $30 million a year for Jaelan Phillips. I don't think he's worth that. He's a good player, and he helped provide a boost last year to the Eagles, no question, when they traded for him. But if we discussed it last week, if that number got above $25, $26 million a year, I couldn't do it. I don't know how a team justifies. Now, the Panthers are in transition, trying to become a legit team, and they got cap space, so whatever. But, Hugh, I think that Howie made the right call to let him walk at $30 million a year.
Yeah, and he probably was looking at, the cost of living in Carolina is different than it is here. Warmer. He probably, coming from Miami, that's what he probably was looking for. He probably liked playing here, but that cold weather probably wasn't what he wanted to be in.
Well, I think he just also wanted $30 million a year.
All of that, Joe. I mean, but it sounded like he was willing to entertain what the Eagles were talking about. But when, you come in and you're talking about $120-something million a year and the tax difference in that and living in Carolina, yeah.
$80 million in guaranteed. Yeah. I mean, it's a number you can't pay him.
No. There's no way they can let Jalen Carter go now.
Well, that does add to it, right? I mean, how much are they going to lose up front in one offseason? Yeah, when we opened the show today and we were talking about the Carter thing, I was wondering how much of that was money, right? Because if they're going to pay Carter and her and all these guys at the same time, Phillips and Carter. Yeah. Well, now Phillips is off the board. All right, so you can react with us. Jalen Phillips agrees to a 4-year, $120 million deal with the Carolina Panthers, $80 million in guarantees. I trust Howie on this one.